All right, let's give it 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we got some exciting news. And then if any of you have some wins to share, that would be awesome. We'd love to hear it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be like the classic, I got a listing. It could be like just, I got an appointment, or, you know, I used Julie awesomely and she's talking to me, or, you know, I got a reply from an email. That's a good win too. I'm always curious to hear even the smallest of wins, because if you get small wins, they'll turn into big ones. Okay, I'm just gonna share this into our insider group just in case people don't know to get on Zoom here. All right. Okay, we're good.
Cool. All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, do you want to, well, we could start with some wins if anybody wants to share, or we can get right into the exciting news.
Yeah, we have enough people. So, does anybody have a win? Anybody want to raise their hand, be brave? Oh, there we go. Wendy.
Hey, Wendy, I love you. You always have great wins, so share them away.
All right, well, me and my agent, Tony, she's new to StreetText too. We're going to a listing appointment today from a StreetText listing. So we already listed one in the neighborhood. Now we're getting another one.
Oh, good job. That's awesome.
Buy and sell. So.
Very cool. Very cool.
Well done.
Yeah.
Good job.
Anybody else before we get started with the news? All right.
Okay.
Very lively group of people here.
Am I still on your screen? All right, sure.
You can come in here.
So for whatever reason, it will not let me join the Zoom meeting from here.
Okay, that's okay.
So
just come in here.
I may just have to get you to log in and do all the parts. So a couple cool things. We have a we have a Homebot, cool update on Homebot for the US side, and then we got something for the Canadians on the Radius side. So maybe should we start with the Canadian side?
Yeah, who's this? Do we have any Canadians?
Canadians in here at all? Any Canadians? Raise your hand.
Where's the Canadians at?
Mostly the US.
The Canadian news is going to anger the Americans, and the Homebot news is going to.
Yeah. I see Rocky. I think put up his hand.
Rocky's in trouble.
So for all of you on the Canadian side, you're really lucky. This is going to make the US side really jealous right now. You don't have to worry about your radius at all. So when you're creating your ads, you can just do city specific. So we'll talk more about that. I'm not sure there's a ton of you guys on here, but for you guys, you can even target postal codes again, which is great. So for the Canadians, you guys are really lucky.
Well, I think right now the postal codes aren't working, but you can go as small as a mile radius.
That's right, yeah. And we're bringing the postal codes back in on the Canadian side. For the US side going forward, there actually is an option around even targeting zip codes again, which we'll talk more about in the future. But for now, it's just on the Canadian side. So the Canadians don't normally get much wins in our group. All the technology is really around the US side. So it's nice to share some really cool news, something that they can use on their side. But on the US side, who here is using Homebot? You guys using Homebot? A bunch of you. I think a bunch of you. If you're not using it, it's a great tool. The team can talk more about it. We don't make any money from Homebot. There's no reason other than, like, we don't promote it for any other reason than it's just a great tool. I know a lot of you guys are promoting it internally as well. And there's a few different options with Homebot. If you're not familiar with it, I'll just give you a quick synopsis on it. It's a tool that essentially, two things can really happen. One is you can get a bit of an automatic CMA sent out to some of your clients when they come in. But it's not like, it's a really fun way of sharing financial information about the home to your client. So it shows them, like, not only just the valuation change, but this like Airbnb stats if they ever want to rent it. It shows them that they could maybe buy a second investment property. It shows you how much equity they have. It's got a really cool way of packaging all of that together. But most importantly, it really pulls you in as the realtor that's providing the information, and then they can update their value or request more information about their value, which then brings you in to take a look at their home. And so the downside of Homebot to date, though, has been you guys have to manually add in all your leads. So if anybody's been doing that, you've had to manually add in all your leads, and that is going to change going forward. So that's really the big news right now, which is really cool. I saw Leon put his thumbs up there. That's really cool. So I want to show you quickly how to do that. I may have to do it on Marcus's computer if I cannot get connected. Let me just try one more time here.
You want to go into some?
Oh, actually, no, maybe this is going to work this time. Let me just see that. Maybe I can do it here.
In progress.
So if you're not a Homebot user, you'll probably just still find this interesting. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to use Marcus's audio, but I'm going to just share my screen and then take it from there. First off, for anybody in here, is that good news? Like, are people excited about that for any of the Homebot users? Give me some like, yeah, there we go. Some claps, great.
Less time automatically going into your HomeBot. That's just massive, especially the high open rates that HomeBot gives you, as you know. Like, and you get the interaction with it. You know when the interaction's happening. It's a perfect time to follow up with that lead.
That's right. Okay, so let me.
Don't let just HomeBot do its thing without taking that interaction, going with it.
Is that the same thing? Does it do basically the same thing as? Oh, what's the other one? Having a senior moment.
I know this probably is.
They have videos. They do videos.
BombBomb.
BombBomb. Yeah. Is HomeBot the same as BombBomb?
They kind of work together in a sense, but certainly different products. BombBomb will allow you to record video and embed video into your email structure and everything like that. HomeBot is actually sending information initially as well as on an ongoing basis to your clients as it pertains directly to their home value and a bunch of other things. We'll put the link in. It's homebot.ai. I heavily recommend just going to their website and just kind of checking around and seeing a little bit more of what they have to offer, but completely different from both.
Yeah, and I think for everybody on this call, you can partner with a lender in this tool, and then I think it's free for you. But I think, and just make sure you don't sign up. Like, I think it's like $25 a month, so you shouldn't be paying any more than that. So if it's something that you actually want to use, it's not very expensive, but it can do a lot for you. Now, the account that I'm in right now is a demo account. I don't really have anything in here. I should have maybe put a couple of US addresses in here just to kind of show you how it works. But investigate it on your own, or there's a lot of stuff in our insider group talking about it too. We actually did a previous webinar with them, so we can tag that afterwards as well. But I just want to show you this part right now. And that is, let's take a look at the question. Anything else on that? Yeah, for lenders, exactly. Thanks. Thanks for that, Adam. So if you're logged into your HomeBot, there's a button at the top called Customize. And when you click on Customize, this is going to give you a couple new options. One of them is a Zapier. So for now, like, you can also connect your BombBomb into that. But the one that you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and click Request Early Access. When you do this, they're going to open it up. It's just in their beta right now, so all of you can get on it early. And through here, if you scroll down, just go ahead and put in your name, say who you are, your email, just kind of answer these quick questions. They're just learning about the users right now as they're making this obviously available. In about an hour or so of doing this, you're going to get a link, which is then going to give you access to their beta. And then when you go to Zapier, I don't know if any of you guys have used this before. I'm sure a lot of you have. You can connect StreetText to a ton of things through Zapier, but now one of them, of course, that you can connect to as well is HomeBot. So I just want to show you. So once you've done that, so you're going to go here, you're going to click request, you're going to fill out this form, they're going to send you a link, then you're able to go in. Right now, if you just log into Zapier, you won't be able to do it. You need that link first. But now if you click to make a Zap, you can, of course, type in StreetText. You don't see it here already, so you can type in StreetText. Once you've got StreetText connected, it's going to walk you through how to get that connected. You're going to click Continue. Then you can say you want to do something. In this case, you can type now HomeBot. And I'll just quickly show you how easy it is to build. So then I'm going to go on and say I'm going to create a new client, because every lead can create a new client. You click Continue. And you're going to just connect HomeBot. So I've already connected this yesterday. So you click Continue. Hopefully I'm not losing you. We'll do a full-on video on this for anybody that hasn't used Zapier before. But from here, if you have buyer access, you can check it, or if you're using buyer leads. But I think the way HomeBot works is if you don't have a lender, you can't do this. So just leave that as no right now. You'll see here, the only ones that you need to put in that are required are these three. So everything else you can basically just leave out. So instead of typing the person's email, what you do is you click on this and you click New Lead from StreetText, and now you can put an email. So it's basically just a match. Every new email that comes in from StreetText is going to automatically go in here. You do the same thing for your first name, and you do the same thing for last name, and then you're just going to go ahead and click Continue. And from there, basically, StreetText and HomeBot are going to be connected. So when a new home value lead comes in, you're going to get their lead information like you normally do, but almost instantaneously, this information is going to be sent to HomeBot. and then it's going to automatically create them in your system, and it's going to send them that first welcome email from Homebot, which is pretty cool. So what you're going to probably want to do is once you set this up, you're going to want to go through as a lead yourself, see how the whole thing works, and you may even want to change some of your immediate emails now in the StreetText system to just talk about this, right? Or let them know what they're gonna see next. Now, there's a couple things you can do with Zapier too. You can even set delays. I'm not gonna get into this now, but you can even set it to be delayed for like 10 minutes. So your first StreetText email could even say something like, in 10 minutes, you're gonna get a welcome email from Homebot. It's gonna let you know all this really cool stuff. Stay tuned for it, et cetera, and then it's gonna come through. So we have found this to be a great tool because not only do people love seeing information about their home, but Homebot's open rate is really high because the information is really interesting to obviously to the homeowner, right? And it just kind of keeps you in that loop. Who here's has anybody got a success story from using Homebot so far? Like anything where yeah, okay, great, Leon, maybe if you share that, this will be good for everybody else.
Cool, and we just unshare the screen, or you
Oh,
want
yeah.
All right, I got a question with that too, because based on submission 1, submission 2, if you turn around and you zap and connect StreetText to that, if the person comes in, is it going to automatically try to cross-load from submission 1, or is it going to go to a certain point where they've got more complete data in there?
Yeah, great question. This is going to be only working for leads that have a first name and a last name right now, so they do have to go through that step. If we get an address-only lead right now, so the next stage we're going to do with Homebot is we're going to actually do an API integration with them, and then we can work with address-only leads. But for now, we need that first name, last name. Otherwise, Homebot has a hard time.
What if it's just an email?
Well, no, because then Homebot's system right now is they're expecting to have a first name, so they can't even send their emails out with it. So right now, if you get an address-only lead, we can't do much. If but at least like think about it this way, for your address only, if you look up some information, you could add them to Homebot afterwards and put that in. But at least for all the other leads, they're gonna come through automatically. Plus, we're gonna have a new seller lead that automatically asks for phone number and email like the lead ads we do, and this one's gonna work really well, I think, in Homebot too. So talk more about that on a future mastermind. But for now, this is gonna save you guys a bunch of time. It sort of just streamlines the process anymore. But Leon, do you have a win on that as well? Like something that you found that's worked well with Homebot?
Yeah, and I give you that one. I was talking with Lori Nader right before we came on to do this. So then the question is, if we don't have name only, let's say they come back, submission 2 or whatever, and finally put it in. Well, now does that pick it up and load it, or are we gonna have to go back and manually at that point put them in?
So the Zapier isn't smart, and it's only gonna run the one time through. Actually, on that note, let's say the lead comes in as a partial lead, and then a week later they come in and update their information. That's a new lead to Zapier. So then they will go through automatically. If you've already added them into Homebot already, Homebot's going to see that as a match and just ignore them, right?
So Homebot's smart enough to sort duplicates for you so that it doesn't duplicate?
Yeah, if an email address matches, it's not going to add another contact.
Cool. So what I was telling Lori earlier, and we're talking about this in the StreetText Insider group, a couple of us the other day. When people come in there, I set them up. I don't correct nothing. I want it to be wrong because people are so quick to correct you what's wrong with their house. So I had one the other day that turned around and was telling me that the price was wrong. And I went back and gave him the spiel we'd been using before about, I just sent back like laugh out loud and told the guy that was the internet's best guess. And I wanted them to see what the internet was saying so they could understand what everybody else is seeing. And I asked them to just hit reply, give me the updated update for upgrades, remodels, or anything they've had, and went ahead and knocked out a CMA. And so I had an appointment based on correcting a wrong Homebot. So my word to everybody else is just like I even say about I let Julie run StreetText. Don't correct anything. Let the system do what it's supposed to do. The idea is to get engagement. So when you set them in there, don't be in a hurry to go in and update the CMA or nothing like that. Let it just run. I always say blame the person not there. So blame the internet for making a mistake. And I got an appointment out of it. So the guy is still a couple months out as to whether he wants to list or not, but it's still the fact that he came in, he engaged. Anybody that's leaning that far forward to talk with you to let you come make an appointment, you got to take them as semi-serious. So I've got him in the system, just following up with the guy, and we'll see what happens.
Cool, awesome.
One thing I really wanted to add that I've found that is working really well in conjunction with Homebot, let's say for an address only, right? You guys a lot of you probably are already sending some form of mailer. If not, you should consider sending some form of templated mailer that gives some idea of, you know, what's happening around them in terms of this is how many homes have sold, days on market, median price, something like that. But one thing that's working really well is add a little blurb as to what your favorite features of Homebot would be as an enticement. This is what you could get, right? What I'd like to do is, here's some information, right? However, what I'd like to do is offer you this service. It's called Homebot, or however you want to initiate this, but here's what you're going to get with this service. Now, in order for me to enter you into this system, I'm going to need your email address. If you'd like to go ahead and text that to me here, right, I'll be able to go ahead and add you today, right? So now you've taken an address only, you get their email address and their phone number, right?
That's awesome, Logan. Can you create a template and put that in the insider group?
That is really cool. That is
Actually, I've been working on one as it is anyways, and I've had a couple people who tried that so far, and so far results are good. Once again, just take an address only, give them a reason to give you more information. That reason is I'm going to give you Homebot. For Homebot, you need an email address, or I need your email address. To get that to me faster, text it to me. Devon, yeah, you had something you want to add?
Okay, just so I've been devil's advocate here. You're saying we get an address only, okay, but sometimes you get address only without an email.
Yeah, so, and that's kind of what I mean is if you get an address only, no email, no name, no contact information, nothing, only their physical mailing address, you can have a mailer, right, that you're going to just stick in an envelope. It may not even be addressed to them. If you want to take it a step further, research their information so you can send it with an actual name, which will increase the likelihood of them opening the envelope when it gets to them. I think that would be wise. But even if you don't take that step, just a simple mailer that quickly identifies the benefits of maybe something like Homebot, something additional you're going to be able to add them to. In order for them to do that, you need some more information from them, namely their email. Send it to me via text. Then I can add you into Homebot. Now you have all that information.
Right. Another question. I noticed when Stephen was going through the Zapier example there, it only did first name, last name, and email. I didn't see it. Did it show an address field there? Because how would it pull that into Homebot?
Oh, great question. Yeah, let me share my screen again here. So there is an address field. I went by that so fast. So thanks. Let me just bring that back up. So here, where did I see it before? So you got your last name, first name, email. Shoot, I went through this before. May just need to look it up again. But there is an address field. You do put in your address field as well. I don't know why I don't see it right now though. Okay, let me just get back to you on that. That is kind of hilarious. But there is an address field. Okay. So yeah, it does pull the address field in. I'm not sure exactly why I'm not seeing it right now. Let me actually, I'm just gonna, while you guys just continue to Mastermind, let me just see if I quickly find that for you guys.
The other thing on that for delivery, I didn't like the screen recording out of Homebot when it said record the screen. So I just used the regular I used actually the BombBomb screen recording. When I had made the video, I recorded the seller one that they did with my inset picture so that I could send that out for them to see what Homebot's about, and you're still in there. And then the other thing I'm doing, because if you're going to run buyers out of that, you're able to connect your website to it. So I connected my website for the search feature, and I recorded that. And what I do is I send it out to the people, let them know that I've signed them up for a new tool that I'm really excited about. I let them get a little breakdown on it, and then I remind them about their login and password so that they're able to go in there. But this way I can track the opens through Homebot, and I can see what kind of activity. And then 2 and 3 times a week, if you go into Homebot, there's an activity screen for your sellers. So now what I'm doing is following up with the people that are in there showing active. I've got people going there active, open like 5, 6, 7 times, and it'll tell you the email opens. So what I suggest is if you're running it, follow up on the people that are actively in there because they're actively in there doing something, and that'll help bring up your conversions as well.
Well said. Any other stories about using that so far? I know it's fairly new. We haven't had it for so long, but how are you liking the interactions with it when you see people open it? And what are you doing when they do interact? Are you following up if they interact? Are you asking a question? Are you acknowledging the information? What's been working?
We actually uploaded all of our past clients for the last 15 years that bought a house through us. and probably like 65% of them opened, and about 40% asked for updated CMAs. So we got a lot of engagement on those.
That's really cool.
Yeah, very awesome.
So when they ask for an updated CMA, how do you present that solution?
Yeah, so so I just do a regular CMA, and then I update the thing, and then I tell them that they'll be able to get the true equity if they update their loan information too, because that gives them even more information, which is awesome. And then we go from there. But yep, they love it. And we've always kept them on stuff that kept them updated on their value, but for some reason everybody loves this program way more.
So do you ever try to go for the walkthrough or try to get them to?
Well, for most of them, we've already sold them the house, and a couple of them were like, oh my gosh, you should see what we did to the house. So that gets me in the door. But we haven't actually got any actual listings out of it, but we do have a lot of love out of it. So I like giving value, and they seem to love it. So it's working really good with the StreetText too. I love that we don't have to put them in manually anymore, but if there's an address in an email, I think it should still set them up on it because there's already an address and an email. So you're saying that we still have to put the names in.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do, and Devin, great question on that, is so there's 2 steps for Zapier. So I'm going to make a video right after this. So if you guys do click that customize and request access to the data, then the video will be ready for you. The step I showed you is create a client, and then you actually can create a home. And with the home, then you can put in the address for that client. I'm going to do a video on it afterwards and just show you guys how to set that up and use it. And I will look for some creative ways, Wendy, to get around the name part. I'm gonna have to test a little bit in my own account what happens if I try to do that. Like, what will Homebot try to send me with that name, or if there's a way I can try to leave it blank. So I'll play around with that a little bit. Long term, we're just going to have an API with Homebot anyways. This is sort of in between, but I still think it's so worthwhile using it if I can just show you the steps and if you guys follow them, because it'll at least stop you having to do all of the manual uploads, right? So even if we can get half of them done, that's good. Right. And I'll see if I can find a way to get the address onlys in there too.
Right, because we'll still have to pull the tax record because it doesn't import when they bought the home, right? So, because I saw a spot in there that said date closed or date sold or whatever. So we always put that information in there. That way, the computer can kind of calculate, how long they've been there, and it gives them a better idea of, what.
Yeah. So it's obviously not going to have that. And that's probably, you may find, it's good that you said that, you may find overall that the first Homebot out without some of that information is perhaps a little less accurate. To Leon, what Leon said, that's not necessarily a bad thing if you guys can use that as a talking point. You might even say, hey, I can get this updated way further for you if you can let me know this, this, and this. Or, maybe now that the Homebot or the lead has been added into Homebot, after the fact, you could always go in and maybe just add those couple of things to it. Yeah, it's going to be pretty hard for you to know that when it's coming through. I mean, obviously, right? So the date close is going to be an afterthought for sure.
Yeah, because the client would actually have to fill all of that out in order for it to be sent over.
But it is interesting though. I'm gonna play with this a little bit, because the other thing is, if we could create specific ads in StreetText that are specific to Homebot, so that way we could change the questions we ask. So, we have templates that ask certain questions, but what we could do now is build templates that are, you wouldn't run that ad without Homebot because it'll be integrated, but if it is integrated, we can then ask the clients and we can let them know, like, if you provide this, you're gonna get this. So we can change it entirely. And I think that could be really exciting.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So
the email and text drip automations can be custom to that little sequence as well, I think, which would long-term aid as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to play with that. I think that, Homebot's proving to be a good partner overall because they really complement the system. And I've been, now that we finally get this API connection with them, like, obviously we Zapier first, now is the first time we can start to play with some new ad ideas too. So for all of you that do use it, and again, if there's other tools and partners that you really want us to integrate with, please let us know in the insider group or reach out to your coach and let us know too, because we'll definitely explore those. This is one that's just been on our radar for a while now. And it seems like a great tool. But if there's other ones that you use that you think would be phenomenal, let us know too, and we'll work and try to integrate those.
We'll try to find
My recommendation though, before anybody connects this app to it, when you first go to Homebot, go ahead and just download, do the export, and send over your initial list, and let them upload. Because that way you've got everything there already, and then at that point you can go from there. Because I've got like about 2,000 total in there between everything, and if I'd have had to, go through the whole process, it'd have been a process. But if you're going to make the jump, make the leap of faith, do it all. And just like someone else had said, I strongly suggest download everything, because what we forget, 60% of your business is your referral business. So past clients, when they get that, you're in front of them once a month, you're getting something delivered automatically, and you don't have to worry about, oh, I didn't send something this month. It's done for you.
Yeah, so not just your StreetText leads, any lead source you have, your past clients, anything, your sphere, upload them all in there. Yeah, totally. Cool.
So I think,
any questions on that otherwise?
yeah, any questions specifically on Homebot before we move on? And, Canadians are like, oh gosh, what are we gonna do? Hey, you get the radius, right? You get to target whoever you want, whenever you want. Americans still have to work within 15 miles. So that's a cool thing right off the bat. I think the big takeaway that I hopefully want all of you guys to look at is opens initially with these emails. And then if you're not getting it open, make sure you use something right after that to create an open and measure it. Because if you don't want to send anything if it's not being measured, right? And that's a big takeaway for all your email drip campaigns, whether you're using the StreetText side or then ongoing with any of your own CRMs. Make sure that you can measure the deliverability, the opens, and then most importantly, that you're asking a question and creating a call to action within these automations. Because if you're not asking something, you never get dialogue. And if you're not creating a call to action, you're never going to get that call to action to be booked, whether it's Calendly or whatever you're actually creating as a call to action. So make sure every single automation includes something that you're measuring it, if it's not being open and you're seeing it's being delivered, then you should go in as a personal email and send it from, let's say, BombBomb or your Gmail Chrome extension, and then measure that, making sure that's being opened, right?
One other thing to do with that, send a text. I always joke about texting Tuesday. Nobody likes to get on the phone anymore. So I always say text, email, call if necessary. But if you're sending something out, copy and paste. I'll sit there and have a text going out that I'll make the first one, I'll copy it, then paste it in all the rest. And you can say something simple as, hey, it's Marcus from StreetText. I just sent something out to your email. I just want to make sure you got it. Make them verify. I mean, you have an iPhone, they opened it on that, but if they open it now, you're going to get the BombBomb response. So there's ways of driving them to where you want to go without being pushy. And if that increases your conversions, why not? And I was saying, the perfect daily schedule thing I was talking about, you get to appointment early, you're sitting there, you got 20 minutes, use it. But if you're texting people out, just saying, hey, follow up, see if you got the email I sent you, get a response.
I love it, Leah. I remember, and last week we talked about this too. The second text message that goes out from Julie that says, let me know if I can help, sometimes that's the first message they see. So most of you actually should be going in there and editing that to actually reflect more on, hey, just want to make sure you received the email regarding your Facebook home valuation request you asked for. You could, make sure to check your filters in case it landed in one of those. This way, if it does create that automated text message in that moment, you're going to get created a call to action to get them to go to where you want them to go initially anyways.
Yeah, right. You can just call back to that first text. Hey, this is Julie again, just checking in. Wanted to make sure you got my last text, right? Because that way you're not getting a who's this. If anybody is getting that on that second text, that they're getting who's this, what, and that first message wasn't being delivered, something like that just calls back to that first one. Even if they didn't get that first message now, that second one's not out of place.
I'm just jumping back in. I jump in and out. So on that first text message, one of the reasons that message doesn't get delivered as much is it seems more automated, right? And because it's the way it's structured and put together, and a lot of people use it. So the carriers at the end of the day, like T-Mobile or whoever is delivering that message, can decide if they're not going to deliver it. So we highly recommend changing that first message. Your second text, just let me know if I can help. That one is pretty natural. It'd be hard for a carrier to not know if that was real or not. So that's why that one always gets delivered, but sometimes you missed your first one. So, go in and we really do recommend just try to change the first text message around a little bit. Change it to something that seems more natural to you. If you do that, you're definitely going to stand out from anybody else using that same text, and your deliverability on that's going to go way, way up. So
another thing I want to add is you don't not want to necessarily wait until the conversation lights up in yellow. I think a lot of people mistakenly just let it continue instead of going in there and responding and creating dialogue. Like your objective is to create dialogue with every single text message you have, with the exception of the ones that land, if you see it red, it could be a landline and you're not going to get, that's usually the case, right?
Yeah.
Or a bogus number, but a landline a lot of
or
times.
wrong number.
Or wrong number.
Yeah.
But with if it's not yellow and they haven't replied, you should go in there and take over that conversation and ask a simple question so you can create dialogue. And I think that's a big part of it. With every phone number submission, make sure you can land up in yellow and always create that conversation from Julie before you pass it over to yourself. That's a big takeaway there. Now, for some of you, you're not getting the phone number submissions that you need. Maybe you need to start working on some other ad angles, right? And you got to consider the market. You got to consider if it's low inventory. Don't ever settle. I know I'm working with a bunch of people, even in trial, that are maybe on this mastermind. And at the end of the day, the idea of the split test is to continue looking for that performance within the first 500 people reached. And it doesn't have to spend a lot of money. You can usually, the more split tests you create, the more aggressive you can get. You can usually find within $5 of ad spend if that ad is going to work or not. And the biggest indication is obviously clicks, right? If you're not getting clicks and you spent $5, it's probably wise just to turn off that ad and create another split test, because you're creating sample audiences every time you create a split test. Especially in your 15-mile radius zone, like you can imagine that Facebook's gonna get that right within the first few hundred people. It could be showing it to the wrong person, the wrong profile, and you're still paying Facebook for it. So my encouragement to everybody here who's looking for a strong ad performance is continue to test the heck out of this, and do them at least in split tests of 3, and then be extremely aggressive. And the more that you do, let's say you do 3 or 5 or 6, the more aggressive you can get, because ultimately the more split tests you have, you can be monitoring every hour and you're like, oh, this one's getting a ton of clicks, I'm gonna keep this one going and then turn off these other ones, right? And you've only spent maybe $2 on each ad at that point. So it's one of those things that the more you become an ad manager and look for performance angles, and that's obviously gonna be clicks translated really fast there, then you can be aggressive with that ad. I wouldn't let just an ad continue spending money if you're not getting at least a contact a day with an email. Do you guys understand that? Pretty straightforward, right? But the split test doesn't stop just at that seller conversion template. You split test the equity side. You split test that one that's working really well is that enter your address, receive your home value right now. That's actually producing lower cost per leads on average than any of the other ones out there right now. But no one's, there's only 500 people testing it, where the seller conversion one, there's like 10,000 people. So you can drive a lot of different templates by testing it more. And if you're seeing small numbers on here, that's just not being tested enough. So you have all these ad templates in front of you. It doesn't hurt you just to go out there and run a split test with them to see if you can nail it. Because your market might just nail it. Like I just worked with a gentleman, in a place on Vancouver Island called Campbell River, and we just split test, and all 3 of the ads started off at like 15 cents a click. So he's just beyond himself right now, because leads are just crushing right now. But on the other side, I'm working with a guy in Arizona right now, and we can't seem to find a click. Doesn't matter what we do on the split test. So that means you might have to shift into maybe a different style of ad to try to hit that audience.
Yeah, there's so many ads that you could try. So it definitely is a good idea. Like I do notice when I go through a lot of accounts that this ad is really just used over and over and over again. And it's a good ad, there's nothing wrong with it. But you know, do yourself a favor and try this one, sell equity ad. You know, try this one down here that we were just showing here, right? Like there's a whole bunch of different ad types that are worthwhile, just even putting a few dollars behind just to test and see how they do.
And then for the full complete lead, that buyer lead ad, just right next to the listing one.
This one here?
Yeah, that one works really well. And I think a big part of this too is when you do create an ad, make sure that you go through the ad and experience the automations yourself, both on the email and the SMS side, and then share that out with your peer support and your peer group and say, hey guys, would you, if you got this email and text message, would you respond to it, or would you think it was, you know, cookie cutter, automated AI type of stuff, right? At the end of the day, always get feedback from other people that are maybe not even in the industry, because you want to make them feel like, hey, this is comfortable. It would create dialogue. I would respond to this. And then some of these don't have automations. I know the property listing one doesn't automatically come with automation. So you have to create an action. You have to add a text message. You have to add an email template. And that's a big thing as well. Like you gotta understand that all these come with built-in automations like the seller one. I know some of them do automatically, some of them don't. So at the end of the day, make sure to check that. And then you can go into that automation and create actions, both that trigger text messages and emails. And even with the automatic automations you have right now, you can add additional actions in between text messages and additional emails in between emails based on what you want to say. So these are all just blank templates ready for you to come in there and create and make your own. Just realize that. That's why we always say, make sure email signatures in there, create a call to action, put your social media in there so they can really get a sense of who you are. And when possible, throw in that video. And the more you do that, I think that's the best way to do this. And if you're going to your emails and you're seeing it's being delivered and not opened, then you definitely need to go in and personally send something to that person and then track to see if it's getting opened. And if you have their message, their phone number, that's when you text them to make sure, hey, just check your filters. It probably landed in one of those filters because I included a video to introduce myself.
So yeah, this is that first text message that often doesn't make it. And so if you click on funnels and then you click on my funnels at the top and you click on edit, you can see this message if you scroll down a little bit, and you can see this one makes it through. Just let me know if I can help. But this one, you just might want to change it around, edit it a little bit. Something that maybe just seems a little less generic. And I bet you just even the most minor change will make a big, big difference. So that's definitely the one we recommend changing.
Yeah, you guys, these are all just built in. You can go in there and change the time it's being sent out. You can turn things on or off. Like if you're like, oh, 3 minutes is too early, you just change that you click that little hourglass and then you change the time. Right? Or if you want to say, hey, my name's Julie, I don't want it to be Julie, or I have someone that's going to take over and be a real assistant, change the name right there. If you do that, though, make sure you change the subsequent messaging too that has Julie in it, because you have to do it. You got to think the entirety of that text sequence, right? But this is just the seller side. On other sequences, Julie's going to have one text, and if you want to add it in 2 texts, you can create it in 3 and so forth. Every one of these, you can create and add an action, and in both an email and an additional text message, as many as you possibly want. You just make sure if you're going to do that, they're really like, you know, strong, personal with your message, something that you would say, because you don't want it to feel robotic. That's what turns people away.
Yeah. So here's where you can add an email.
And what's the whole thing with the tags? Where's tags come into play here?
Yeah. So tags is if you're setting it to a CRM, right? So and you want to tag it as it's going through, you click Add Action. You can pick a tag. If you've got some tags already selected, you can see them here. If you need an added tag, we're going to actually add here as well. But right now, if you need an add tag, you add it in the contact section. But this is great. Like for instance, if you've got a lead going into say follow-up boss or something else, because you have a tag associated now, when that tag goes to follow-up boss, it could have like some specific tag with it, and you can turn that on. So it's going to send the tag. Then you can add another action, and you could do maybe an email or a text message.
And I think it's important to people know that the action goes after the previous action before that, right? Mm-hmm. So if they create an action, just make sure, so you don't want to create actions, I guess, like way down the line and assume that it's going to just come right away. The action always follows the action before that based on that sequence.
Yeah, and so this was an example. This was a property listing ad that had no emails or automations associated with it. I just quickly now added a tag for it, which would probably be something different, but I put that in there. And then I added a text message. So after 5 minutes of that lead coming in, they're going to get this message, hi, this is Steve. So that's essentially how you use it. And yeah, and we can get more into this part. We'll do more training specifically on the automation side. But I think the point that Marcus is just making is it's really easy to go in here and edit these. You just click on funnels, you click on my funnels at the top, and then click on edit on your campaigns and go in and take a look at sort of what you've got set up. This is a demo StreetText account, so it's not the best example. The other thing to keep in mind, which is really nice for your sellers, is that every single seller one that you have, they're actually all linked to the same automation. So if you change it here, it changes for everybody, which is really good because then you don't have to do it in one spot. But for every buyer ad that you launch, so here'd be an example of a buyer ad, or here's a property one. These ones always create a new automation, and some of them will include automations built in, like the early notification list. Some of them won't. So you should go in and take a look and see what's being built out for you, and see if you like it, or make any changes to it.
And also let them know they actually can edit the email from within this automation. A lot of people go to the emails instead, but
right from here, if you want, like if I don't like this first email,
just click on it.
You click on it and I'll open it up. And then from here, you can obviously make any changes you want. And then just go down and hit save email, and your email's been saved. You can also test it from here too. So if you click on that again and you want to test it, you just click the test button up here, send it to yourself.
I've also noticed a lot of people embedding BombBomb in wrong to their autoresponders. If you're going to do the BombBomb embedding in these automations, make sure you use the Google Chrome extension. Okay, you click on that Chrome extension BombBomb. It's up in your URL, and you press copy HTML, and then you copy paste it, and it'll automatically set your video in there. Don't go create this long code, and it just doesn't work, and that's why you'll have problems with it. You got to use the Google Chrome extension, and that's the easiest way to embed video if you're embedding video in your email automations.
I think we should sit down in a couple of weeks and set up just a basic class, because it's been so long since we've gone through this, and you see people asking questions, and we should just take and just do a basic Julie class, we call it, where we come in and just start from the beginning, like, okay, here's your basic, and then just show how to add a couple different emails or a couple different texts and a couple of different links, because everybody's going to just sit and scratch their head and wonder, like, what did he just say?
Yeah, I think a class specifically on Julian automations and email templates would be smart, right? Because that's the first impression you're getting, both the text and email, and that's the ongoing impressions you're getting. So if those are generic cookie cutter type stuff, then you got to ask yourself, well, is there a reason why nothing's coming out of this? Well, there's probably is, because they're so used to getting snail mailed by everybody with spam. So you got to be unique and different with these automatic emails that are going out there if you're going to use automations, right? So that's just to think about. Like we had a mastermind a couple weeks back when we looked at Vance's automations, and he went in there and spent about 48 hours changing everything, pulling in video, putting Calendly and a call to action on every email, and then putting in emojis on every subject line.
And seeing Donna, like you said, had shortened hers. I left mine running the 9 months because I'm long-term for what I do. But when you guys said Donna had shortened hers quite a bit, so there's some in there where if you want to take Vance or Donna or one of them and just go in there, because now that since you've done this last, Marcus, we've added Homebot, we've added BombBomb in there. There's Calendly. There's so many things we've added that just to build one basic sample seller one with all that would be a great class.
That would be 100%. Logan's gonna lead that one.
Yep.
I put him on the spot.
Cool.
Any other questions, guys? I know we're wrapping it up here. We got 15 minutes left. Questions particularly that you want us to kind of lead with outside of what we just used with Leon? Is there anything that you'd want us to really focus on in next week's mastermind or any of the future masterminds that would really be helpful for you?
I actually have a question for some of the experience. So when I send out the automated, like the emails, do people do it where you just keep sending them emails saying that you're going to send, or that you're asking for specifics on your home valuation, or do you eventually send it even though they don't respond?
Good question. Leon, what would you say to that, buddy? Or you in a chat with Logan over there?
I was actually going Barney Fife. Oh my God, you got it. No, say that one more time, because I was answering a lender too.
So do you like wait till they respond to send the home value, or do you send it even though they don't respond?
I actually wait. It's kind of funny. Narrow down your systems. I don't need 90 million things. I'm letting actually Julie do her thing. And so what I would say is when you go in there and mark them, we're talking about check your text responses and stuff like that. I'm one of those people that the thought of this, if you're running a lot, it's a numbers game. I got 2,000 plus leads. I'm not trying to answer every one of them. So the lowest hanging fruit to the highest, I'll spend my time going after who's the most busiest. If I see them active in there, I'm gonna try to engage them, and then I'm gonna send them something. I was telling Lori Nader earlier today that like Homebot, the beautiful thing with that, it gives you activity. When I go in there and they've been active, I try to engage. And as soon as they engage, Homebot lets you send something so quick that you're not jumping all over 10 systems to do it. But the bottom line is I'm gonna put it like this. Your time is precious. You're worth something. What is your value? And if you're sending 30 CMAs a day to people that are non-responding, you're wasting a lot of time. So the idea first is get them off the fence, get them engaged, speed the lead, respond to them. I would rather send a text and get a response, or respond to something Julie and them are doing and then get it out.
What about the email only guys? So no phone number, we're not using Julie here. I would probably start with going to the initial email that was sent out, the quick question one, and see if it was opened, number one. And then multiple opens is always a good indicator that they've been going back to that email trying to look for something, right?
And that's,
you know,
that's
those cases that you got like 15 opens, you're like, what the heck?
That's where BombBomb is a winner, because BombBomb tells you the open, and there's one of the highest responding ones you can get to your emails was I gotta remember what that. It's like did I drop the ball? It says hey John, did I drop the ball? Da 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 da. Send that out in the BombBomb and get them to open that. But you want to get it open before you start investing a lot of time in something.
Well said.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Troy, Ira, you guys have been nice and quiet out there. Anything you want to add?
Well, I was just thinking exactly what Leon said in terms of, sometimes you can get so stuck in trying to set everything up all at once. So what I talk to a lot of people about is like, just focus on one automation first. And then you layer your automations and your processes over time. So when you're in this for the long-term game, you might get overwhelmed hearing about Homebot and blah, blah, but you don't even have your email set up yet. Get on your email first. Go through those first couple messages. Say my task for this week is by the end of the week to have my email set up. So I kind of been doing that with some people that I work at. Book in with Friday. This is what you need to do by Friday. And then we'll go on to the next thing. And then you layer on top of those automations. So I love the saying, overwhelm is a choice. We can choose to be overwhelmed and it gets us stuck in indecision. So we actually don't really do anything. We just kind of flounder with all sorts of different things. And so many people get stuck in trying to get this all perfect. We have example after example in this community where somebody had skeletal emails going out and still booked a listing appointment because they simply just picked up the phone. So don't feel like you have to have, like Leon has done tons of work to get where he's at right now, but he started at the first layer and you put another layer on top of that one and another layer on top of that one. So just define like, what is it I'm going to finish by the end of this week, and then get to work on it. And then add the next layer and get to work on that. If you try to do it all at once, you're going to get stuck in this place of overwhelm. And it's going to feel like you're going to lose sight of what the daily actionable activity that produces income is, which is like picking up the phone and talking to people and connecting to those bottom of the fruit people. So just like define something. And if you're struggling with that, I mean, that's what the community's here for. Like, what should I work on first? And then get in there and start working on it. It's really about not trying to do too much at once and not trying to get it perfect, because you're never going to get it perfect. As you can hear, people that have been here for a long time are still like, how can I do it better? And now they're just excited about adding one extra layer that's going to add that extra better. So you got to start somewhere and just pick that place to start and get it done.
Thanks, Ira.
Yeah, well said.
That's great. I mean, that's why when someone starts out with us in trial, it's always beginning with like, show me your ad performance. Ad performance. Because we need to obviously generate leads before we can do anything else. And then once we find a pretty good, strong ad, then we can kind of shift into process. And that's why we start with a minimum 3 months, because there's no way you can define your process in a week. you know? Even someone that gets lucky and gets an appointment or two, you know, or 5 like Jess, that's not realistic in 1 week. Unless you're just so natural with you know, understanding the top of funnel style of leading, the questions you should be asking. But even still, like it's looking at this over the next 90 days, 180 days, 365 days, and then imagining the ROI potential that can build out of this. That's why the new, I don't know if you guys noticed the new, and you can even show it if you're in there, the new ROI calculation is taking into consideration now, which is good. We should show this actually. This is smart for everybody to know. If you go to your ad performance, it's no longer the odometer reading there that's showing you, you know, a color. It's actually wanting you to start updating your deal, because it's going to tell you your current lead price versus what your max price could be if you could convert 1.5% of your leads, which is extremely doable in this type of lead gen. But it's not like, it's talking about, this is a year of you're putting your life into, and it keeps on producing fruit. I would measure everything in the first 90 days on how many discussions you can create, how many interactions you can have. Your biggest ROI is starting to see after 6 months, and then a year, it just keeps on growing and growing and growing, and you can't even measure ROI anymore because it's so massive.
Yeah, I mean, I know we covered this a bunch in the last mastermind as well, but I'll just bring it to your attention again quickly. When you go to the ads page, you'll see your current lead price, which is going to be here, and you're going to see what your max lead price is. And your max lead price is going to be based on whatever in your market your average home price is. So let's say it's 7,000 as an average commission. You're going to estimate it. We want to make sure that you're going to get 5 times back on your money in a year if you only convert 1.5% of your leads. So that would mean that you could technically, in this example, could spend $21 a lead and you'll get 5 times back. That is the threshold. You should always be under that, or you know, you could be as close to it. You could be closer to it, but you should always be under. So in this case, we're about half of that, which is great. So this is a good lead. So in other words, worry less about your emails or your cost per lead moving up $1 or $2, and focus on what Ira and Leon Marcus are saying on the conversion side. Like a small percentage change in conversion makes a huge impact. But this is a great way to sort of know what your benchmark is. Like for instance, if I'm in a market and you know my market is not a $7,000 market, my market is a $2,500 market. Well, in that case, you know, it's going to show you a red because really the max I can spend in that market and make that 5 times is $7.50 a lead. And then I know, okay, I can't run this ad anymore. I need to stop it. I need to run some more ads. I need to get my ad price back down. So this is a great way for you to know. And we have also other people in markets that are like $25,000 markets, right? And so now I can spend up to $75 a lead. So it allows you to really benchmark against your own market where you need to be. And you can build in a little bit of a buffer in there too. You could even, you know, think about your commission split or commission after your split, right? You can put it in so you sort of know what you want to work with, but that gives you a threshold on your ads. And you don't have to do this manually each time. When you actually go and you're building your ad, at the very last step when you're picking your budget, it's at the bottom, it's just going to default 6,500, and you can change that to anything that fits more what your ad is or your market is for that particular ad. And of course, you might target one neighborhood and maybe it's $6,000. You might target a neighborhood, it might be $10,000. So you can update it on an ad by ad basis, sort of know if you're in the right range. Hopefully that makes sense. Feel free to ask any questions on that.
Cool. I just recommend take anything that you're wanting more info on and share it in the insider group, and we'll take that and create content behind it. Whether it's for the Academy course that we have, whether it's future courses, whether it's the next mastermind that we'll build out of, just let us know what's really important to you right now and what you need help with, and we'll make sure to make that a priority. And then don't forget the ad tweaks class that Steve hosts on Tuesdays. Like that's a great opportunity to go in there and really explore what's even possible with these templates, especially the custom ones.
Well, and roll forward with the thought that there is no dumb question. I go into the insider group late at night because I see people posting things, and that's my quiet time to respond. And I always tell people this, you know, as far as everybody at StreetText, and I laugh when I say, with the exception of Logan, who used to be a realtor, are not realtors. You guys sit there and you're showing how to get a platform that delivers leads. The conversion part of it kind of falls on us with the follow-up. But there's a lot of people that have a lot of good things they say in that insider group. And I try to make it a point to go through there a couple of times a day, because for me, my greatest learning comes from the new folks. They're not filtered. We as realtors, after a while, think we know everything, knock on wood. And so we have a tendency to think by default that everybody thinks like us or think the way we want them to. And you get people that come in that are new, that have fresh ideas, that say something, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And always learning. They say the closed mouth doesn't get fed, the closed mind doesn't learn. So take a minute, or if you have a thought or something, share in that group, because everybody has all these different areas in the country they're coming from, doing different things, and the joint pool of knowledge, the sum total of all, makes us all much smarter. So don't hesitate, or don't be afraid to ask something, because we learn. Believe me, I've learned more in the last couple of months from guys that have been in the business a shorter amount of time, and it's working for me, because you got to reload, refresh, and reinvent yourself always, and I appreciate that.
One thing I'd like to add on top of that, and I appreciate, that's exactly what we've tried to do with the insider group, with these meetings and stuff like that. And I'll tell you, just coming to this meeting alone, you guys are significantly further ahead than most, just because I'll speak to somebody, let's say after Homebot was first introduced to us, however many months ago that was, 5-6 months ago, whatever that was, when it first started being mentioned in a mastermind, as far as I can recall. I'm having conversations with people who've been with us since then. Right? I'm having conversations with people recently mentioning Homebot, and they're going, "Oh, Homebot, I've never heard of that. What's Homebot?" Right? Because they haven't been they haven't been looking in the insider group, they haven't been coming to these meetings. And when I go on my one-on-ones with them as check-in calls and stuff, now they're learning about it. Now they're going to start employing it. Great, but they're 4, 5, 6 months further behind because they're not making this time available. And exactly like you said, it doesn't matter. I think if you're a brand new agent, or if you've been doing this for 87 years, it doesn't matter. You've got a different level of life experience. You have a different mentality. You have different things to offer. And, anybody doing this by themselves is certainly missing something. So come in, offer your expertise, whatever level you think it may be. It may be that one piece of information that puts somebody else over the top. And then obviously in kind, people are coming back and letting other people know what they've been testing, what they've been trying, what's working, what's not working. Great. We all learn as a collective and considerably advance where we are. So, we see the same faces on these meetings all the time. There's no, coincidence that typically, the ones who are making these meetings are the ones who are further ahead. So, keep adding to this group, keep coming and learning from one another, and, ask questions of one another. This is a great resource.
Awesome. We'll end it here. Steve just answered a quick question about the odometer. The math is based on a 1.5% conversion rate. So over 12 months, we're assuming that you will close 1.5 leads out of 100 with emails, by the way. And when you do, you will make the 5 times the money you spent on Facebook to meet these leads.
Yeah. So if you're under, so if you're under that, that's a good thing. You'd make the 5 times if it says you can spend $27 a lead and you're spending $27 a lead. That's your 5 times. But most of you are going to be under that. So if you're $10, great. You technically only need to convert 0.5% of your leads to make 5 times back. But of course, it really comes down to conversion. Like whenever you run the math, you can actually spend a few dollars more per lead. It's the conversion that's the key. Like a 0.25% of conversion makes a huge impact on your overall ROI in the year. So just little 1% improvements on your conversion, like coming to these masterminds, trying one more thing, adding Homebot, like these tiny little things start to really compound and add up. And yeah, it gets pretty exciting. If you can start moving your needle from 1.5% to 2% to 2.5%, sky's the limit.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming today. Anything that you want us to create content around, drop in the insider group, and anything specifically for next week you want us to talk about, drop in the insider group, and that'll be our topic.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Yes.